Good evening, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I wanted to start off by thanking the elders for this opportunity to give this devotional for you here all tonight. And so last Saturday, I had one of those moments that just make you kind of rethink every choice you've ever made. I was at work, and I was trying to grab a trash can, and I tripped over a squeegee. And it wasn't like it was kind of hanging out in the corner and I bumped into it. No, I fully tripped on this squeegee that was clearly, I saw it, and I tripped over it, and that caused a series of reactions where it ended up with me kind of falling on my face, and I'm falling in slow motion, and you can see everything you're about to fall into, and that makes it scary. And so I had three options. I had a fryer, I had a bucket of floor chemicals, and I had a table. And I chose to fall into the table because I could kind of grab it and played it off like I didn't just fall down, and kind of play it cool. And so I'm doing that. I'm playing it cool, and I'm looking around, seeing if anybody saw it. And I turn around, and my coworker is standing right behind me, and they're laughing as hard as they can at me. They're unable to talk, and so that was pretty embarrassing. But it reminded me of something that's very important, and that's that the Bible is also full of a lot of embarrassing and awkward stories, and in every one of them, God uses them to teach us something. So I have three very short ones picked out for you here tonight, and I just think they hit on stuff that's not talked about enough. And so let's start off with an underrated one, which is Balaam and his donkey in Numbers chapter 22. And what is going on here is God has made it clear he does not want Balaam to go to the certain place, and Balaam said, I'm going to go there anyways, and he takes his donkey with him. And so what God does is he sends an angel down to block his path. And this is not a friendly visit. It says he's going to be an adversary for him, and he says that he has his sword drawn. And Balaam has a big problem where he doesn't see the angel blocking his path. And his donkey sees it before him, and he goes in a completely different direction, and he starts trying to fight with his donkey to get him back on the path, and ends up with both of them just arguing back and forth. And what ends up solving it is God has to come in, and it says in verse 31, it says, And the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in his way. And we see that Balaam now sees what he should have been seeing all along. God made him see. And so the lesson here for this part is a lot of the times we're the ones being difficult. We're not seeing what's right in front of us. We're not seeing the destination that we're going to. And a lot of times it's embarrassing, yes, but it also creates more problems in the long run. And we know that we have the Word of God to be a light under our feet, and it's supposed to be there to illuminate us, illuminate what's before us, and so we can judge the things before us, and we need to make sure we're doing that. And so if Balaam, if his story tells us about how blindness and stubbornness can trip us up, the next is about how fear can trip us up. In Exodus 4, we have Moses, and we all know the story of Moses. And starting off, Moses is bringing up a concern he has with God, that he believes that the people he sent to free won't believe they're from God. And the Lord, he gives him signs, and he tells Moses to throw his staff on the ground. And we see it turns into a snake. And we see Moses' response is to run away. In verse 3, it says that he fled from before it. And I think this is a really interesting reaction because this is the guy who's about to go face the Pharaoh. He's going to part the Red Sea. He's going to be the first leader of the Jewish people before they reach the Promised Land. And so it seems very out of character for him to be running from a snake. That seems very simple compared to all the things he's going to do. And I think knowing that, it makes God's response even more interesting because what God chooses to do is to command him again. In verse 4, it says, And the Lord said unto Moses, Put forth thine hand and take it by the tail. And he, that's Moses, put forth his hand, and he caught it, and it became a rod in his hand. So we see, it worked out fine, and we know the rest of that story. But we see Moses, he did have a reaction to it. He was scared. And I think that's a very important lesson for us because courage doesn't start from being ready to do it. It just starts with being obedient to God. You don't have to feel brave to take the first step. You just have to be willing to take it. And at the end of the day, doing it scared is still doing it. You're obeying God, and that's all he's asking from us. And so finally, for our last very quick story, we have the 7 sons of Sceva in Acts chapter 19. And if Balaam's problem was stubbornness, and if Moses's was fear, this group, theirs was pride. And so what they're doing is they're going around trying to cast out demons in Jesus' name. But they have a very big problem in their approach, and that's they don't actually know Jesus themselves. And the demon knows this, and he replies, Jesus I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye? And then naturally the demon mops the floor with him. It says in verse 16 that they fled out from the house both naked and wounded. And it's clear that it didn't work out for them. And what that tells us is that borrowed faith simply does not work in any sense of the word. Power without relationship, all it is a cosplay. And you can't fake a real connection with God. You can't rely on someone else's faith. And it tells us that real spiritual strength comes from knowing God and having that relationship with him, not by dropping names or quoting the same formula. And so whether it's a donkey talking sense to you, a snake scaring you, or you're getting whipped by a demon, the Bible reminds us that God's lessons often come in awkward ways and sometimes embarrassing too. But the key isn't avoiding the chaos. It isn't pretending it didn't happen or trying to play it off cool. It's paying attention, it's obeying, and it's building your relationship with God. And so the next time you walk into a squeegee or some other kind of spiritual lesson, remember God can still use it to teach you something. And maybe that's what he's trying to do for you here tonight. Maybe he's calling you to stop running from what scares you, or to stop borrowing someone else's faith, or maybe to finally open your eyes and see what he's put before you this whole time. But whatever it is, God is still inviting you to come closer to him. If you'd like to join the Lord in baptism, or if you have any other need of the congregation, won't you please come forward as we stand and sing.